Welcome back, all you beautiful bulletproof handymen and women. Let's talk a little bit about the cost of handyman insurance today. I get emails from y'all every now and then, and oftentimes they're saying, "Hey, Ray, I just went and applied for my insurance. I got a quote, and the quote came back at like $300 a month." And that is very unusual. It shouldn't cost that much. So, what we're going to do here is I'm going to take you through a list of all the factors that are going to affect what the ultimate cost of your insurance is going to be, because as you apply for these insurances, they're going to be asking you questions, and it's your answers to these questions that ultimately dictate how much your handyman insurance is going to cost. So let's go through this list here and just see what you may or may not be answering that's going to affect that ultimate price for your insurance. Now, before we jump in, I do want to let y'all know there's a link in the description of this video to get a quote from Next Insurance. I've insured my business with Next Insurance for the last 4 years. I'm extremely happy with them. They're basically the leader in the construction trades for providing handyman insurance, electricians, plumbers, all of the above. They're basically the leader in the trade. So I do suggest you get a quote from them, but don't be afraid to get some other quotes if you need to as well. So diving in, we're going to start right at the very top of all of the things that affect the pricing. And one of those things is actually that the cost of insurance overall across the board, health insurance, car insurance, business insurance, has gone up 15 to 25% just in the last 3 years. So a large chunk of what you're paying, if you're used to people saying 3 years ago, like, "Hey, I'm paying $49 a month," a lot of that may have to do with just the simple fact that there's been a lot of inflation, so everything is 15 to 25% higher right off the bat if you're getting your quote right now. Number two, one of the questions they're probably going to ask you is if you do any roofing or if you do any work in any high places. This will bump your insurance up quite a bit, almost by $100 from what I've seen. So what I've been doing lately is I've actually removed roofing from the list of services that I charge, and I'll add it back if I need to, if my property managers just have to have that. But I've actually removed roofing from my list of services because the insurance on it was so expensive, and we just don't get enough work to accommodate that additional insurance expense. So if you're telling them you do roofing, maybe take that off your list of services that your business will provide and go back and get that quote redone so that you don't have any roofing or any work in any high places. And the standard they're looking for, mostly, it's not across the board, everybody's a little different. But what they're trying to figure out is, are your feet more than 6 feet off the ground? If your feet are 5 feet off the ground, so let's say you're doing a ceiling fan, you're 3 or 4 feet off the ground, that's not a big deal to them. But that's why they're asking you if you do roofing. And if you remove roofing, then you're likely to find the actual quote to drop by up to $100 a month. And the same thing applies to electrical and plumbing, a little less so in this case, but it does depend on whether you're licensed for electrical or plumbing, how much experience you have. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But if you're doing electrical or plumbing, that is also going to result in higher rates rather than lower rates. And construction, in and of itself, just being in the trades at all, means that we're using a lot of dangerous tools and materials. So, right off the bat, that is going to have our insurance rates be a little higher than if we were in some other industry. Another big factor that's going to affect your rates is actually your zip code or your geographic area. So, if you think about it from the insurance company's perspective, if you're working in a low income, low cost of living area and you're working on houses that don't cost very much, then if an accident happens, it's not likely to cost the insurance nearly as much as if you live in, let's say, LA and you're working on mansions that cost $5 million. If you break a window on a cheap house, the insurance is probably going to get away with $1,000 to fix that problem. But if you go break a window on a $5 million mansion, they're going to be out thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. So your geographic area that you're actually working in is going to affect your rates. Something else that'll affect your rates is your estimated revenue. They're going to ask you how much money you anticipate making over the course of the next year. And the answer to that question affects your rates. And this also makes sense if you're doing this, let's say, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, you're just doing this part-time, then you only have so much opportunity. You've only got so many occasions that you have dangerous tools and equipment laying around. And you've only got so much opportunity to break other people's stuff. So if you're doing this part-time and you're figuring you're going to do $30,000 worth of work a year, your insurance is going to be significantly cheaper than if you have 5 employees and 5 trucks and your business is doing $1 million revenue a year, simply because the more work you do, the more money you're making, the higher the likelihood that with all that work you did to make that money, there's more opportunity for an accident to occur that your insurance company is going to have to make up for. Your experience counts as well. If you've been an electrician for 10 years and you go to get insurance for an electrical company and you don't have any claims on you in the past, your insurance is going to be cheaper than if you just got your license to be an electrician yesterday and you have zero industry experience. And the same goes for the business itself. If the business is a brand new business, your premiums are going to be a little bit higher than if your business already had 10 years of history of not filing claims. Something else to pay attention to is your coverage and limits. That's going to change dramatically. So if you're looking for $1 million policy versus a $2 million policy, the policy is going to be more expensive. And the type of coverage that they give you, which is based on the type of work you're doing, that is also going to change dramatically. So pay attention to what work you're telling them that you do and don't do, and pay attention to what kind of coverage you're actually asking them for. And another really, really big one here, and I mean, this one is very big that most people don't know, and I still don't know exactly how to verify this. But what I've found with my research is that most insurance companies, when you're applying for a quote, somewhere within those terms and conditions, after you've given them all your information, somewhere within those terms and conditions, you're actually agreeing for them to be able to do a background check and a credit report check on you when you do these quotes. Now, this is not across the board, and I don't know how you can know whether or not they are, but do know that if you have bad credit or if you have a bad criminal history or anything bad on your background check, they may or may not run a credit report check or a background check on you, and what they find is going to affect how much your insurance actually ends up being. And finally, something else that I can't verify, but I have read quite a bit that seems to be legit, is the idea that similar to when you buy airline tickets, if you go search for the same airline ticket on 12 different sites, the cost of that airline ticket for you from your IP address is going to start going up. And from what I'm seeing doing my research, it looks like some of the insurance companies have something similar in place where if you're going to lots of different insurance companies online and getting lots and lots of different quotes, the prices of those quotes start going up because they can see that you want insurance very badly. And I do want to remind you all again, in the description of this video is a link for Next Insurance. I've been using them for 4 years on my business. I'm extremely happy with them. They're very affordable. They are not the cheapest you can get, and they are not the most expensive you can get. But one of the things you need to look at when you find the cheap ones and when you find the expensive ones is you want to look at the exclusions that they have. This is usually towards the end of your policy. And the exclusions is a list of things that if these things happen, they're not going to be covered. So when you find that one that's $49 a month, there's a very high probability that your list of exclusions is a mile long and they're not actually going to cover anything that goes wrong on the job. And if you find one that's trying to charge you $800 a month, chances are their list of exclusions are very short and they will cover literally everything. I like Next Insurance because they specialize in the trades. They know what we do. They know how the industry works. And they figured out how to put together that compromise package where we get lots of coverage. We get a very high likelihood of them paying out should we need them to pay out without paying too much money. And these policies can all be refined to different degrees to bring the price up or to bring the price down, depending on the exclusions and the coverage that you want. And finally, the very last thing, if you are starting a business and you're going to get your general liability insurance, also look into professional liability, look into tools and equipment coverage, get yourself a business owner's policy. And just to be clear, I don't make money whether you buy insurance or not, and I don't make more or less money if you buy a bigger package or a smaller package. Your sales, whether or not you choose to purchase, has nothing to do with me. I'm just an affiliate giving you the link to get your quote. But I personally do have a business owner's policy where I've got tools and equipment coverage, I've got professional liability, and I've got general liability. Currently, my commercial auto insurance is with a different company, so I'm about to bring that in and wrap it up as well. But when you get these quotes, look into the business owner's policies that have a little bit of everything, or if you have to, just start out with your general liability. And I encourage you to go back and watch some of my previous videos about insurance for your handyman business, where I do dive a lot deeper into all the ins and outs of how this works. But this video is focused on just helping you figure out why it costs so much and how to get that price down. So go click on that link in the description, get yourself a quote from Next, get yourself a quote from maybe one or two other companies if you need to. Don't do too many. and then let me know. You can email me at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on this video and let me know how it went for you. So with all that being said, I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see you on the next one.